I can't find it. Let's see.
Well, the Harry Potter was also kind of like a crossover Harry Potter. No, I wouldn't say crossover because it had a lot of the vampire elements to it, but it wasn't like Twilight vampires.
Let's see.
It was more like, if I remember right. It's been so long since I've read it.
Yes. It was called. It was called Forbidden Fruit: The Temptation of Edward Cullen, and it's misspelled. Can't imagine how Ron's mom is gonna be.
Oh, I know. How on earth will she react? I wonder.
Shall we do one more chapter then?
Let's go for it.
Alright, I think it's your turn to read first.
Okay. Ron stood in the center of the room, rooted to the floor. Hermione's hands were covering her face. She was shaking. Ron's face was contorted with terror. His face reminded Harry of the time that many large spiders attacked him in the Forbidden Forest.
Jenny was still breathing hard in the hallway. She had a piece of parchment crushed in her hand.
She handed the parchment to Harry, and he read the smudged words written with a very angry hand.
Jenny, I'm coming to the school. I know what's going on. Signed, Mom.
Harry felt very bad for Ron. Any lingering resentment he had had over the fight yesterday faded as he read the notes. Ron's face was purple again, and Hermione was rocking back and forth on the bed with her arms wrapped around her knees, muttering something about her parents.
Why do I have to have a mother? Said Ron. Out of all the people in the world.
At least you have someone out there who's trying to look out for you, said Harry resentfully. It must suck to have a mother and a father. Jeez.
Ron didn't hear him.
They went down to the Great Hall for dinner. Ginny was still sort of pale, but nothing compared to Hermione and Ron.
Although it was by no means the normal time of day to be receiving mail, a small, young-looking owl swept into the Great Hall as they were all enjoying their meals.
Uh-oh, said Ginny, spotting it. That's George's owl, Spartacus.
Harry saw a bright red envelope sticking out of the bird's beak and knew that it could only be what could only be coming. Ron, Hermione, and Ginny were all staring at it with horror. Draco Malfoy, Pansy Parkinson's, Crabby Goyle, and a number of the other students were all pointing at it, unsure of where it would land, but all eagerly hoping it would belong to Ron.
It floated above the Gryffindor table and fell. The entire hall watched onto Ron's plate.
Oh, bloody hell, said Ron. Hermione was crying across the table.
Ron's got a howler, screamed a Slytherin. The students started to applaud.
Open it, Ron!
Come on, we want to hear.
Ron, do it quick before they stop talking, Navel said.
Ron opened the flap of the envelope and it sprang out of his hand.
It's a really acceptable behavior per perfect, howled Fred's voice through what sounded like a fit of laughter.
It's not like anyone could figure it out, said George loudly.
I mean, there was that time when we saw you two making out in the shed.
The basement.
Your room.
The study.
Ginny's room.
Ew, shrieked Ginny, looking positively revolted. Gross!
Not to mention all those times in the bushes, added George.
The potions closet?
Don't act like nobody knew, said George. I guess you thought you were being clever.
Thanks bunches, Ginny. We owe you one.
The howler erupted into flames, and the rest of the Great Hall, who had been squealing with laughter all the way through, burst into applause once more.
Hermione had her face buried in her arms. Ron was so embarrassed you could feel the heat coming from him. Ginny was trying her best to look innocent. She seemed to be suffering from a massive internal struggle, as if she didn't know whether she should feel bad about ratting on them or vindicate it after what she found out they had been doing in her room.
Ginny! Shouted Ron. What did you have to tell them for?
Her struggle seemed to be resolved.
How could you be doing that in my room?
Hermione lifted her head and smiled apologetically.
Great. Are they the ones who told Mom? Asked Ron, scathingly glaring at her. You're the twit who ratted this out, then.
I didn't, she said. She looked as though she'd been slapped. For your information, Snape was the one who told Mom and Dad.
You honestly expect me to believe that, do you?
It's true. Right before I received that letter from Mom, I heard Snape telling Draco that he had made sure that the poor, shamed parents of you two deserved to know what was going on.
Hermione gasped.
Not my parents too.
Jenny shrugged. I don't know, Hermione. I haven't heard anything except what I got from Mom.
You still didn't have to run off telling Fred and George, Ginny, said Ron, still very unhappy with her. You could have...
What do you think? What? Do you think it's better that Mom tells them?
Ron sat back in his chair, defeated.
Harry got up from the table and decided to take some time off from the rest of the Gryffindors. All the common was giving him an awful throbbing headache. He headed out of the Great Hall, down towards the courtyard where he could get a breath of fresh air.
I don't care what the rules are. I want to talk to them now.
Harry recognized the voice of Miss Weasley instantly. She had arrived at the school earlier than he had expected. He wasn't expecting her to show up until tomorrow, at least.
Don't speak to me that way. I'm not a child.
Harry came around the corner and saw Miss Weasley and Professor McGonagall standing outside of the entrance of the Hogwarts. Miss Weasley had her fists clenched at her side. She looked very pale, thin, and her hair was all disheveled. She was glaring at Miss McGonagall, who something no normal person would ever attempt.
Mrs. Weasley, you simply cannot barge in here yelling at young Mr. Weasley in front of his classmates, said McGonagall sternly. When you are calm, I will send for him.
Harry! Said Miss Weasley, spotting him. Harry, tell that worthless excuse for Weasley to come out here this instant. You better get Hermione, too.
Mr. Potter, don't move, said McGonagall.
Harry thought this was a very mean thing for both of them to do, either betray McGonagall or betray Miss Weasley, and he wasn't bothered of being on either side of their tempers.
Mrs. Weasley glared at McGonagall, but soon Harry didn't have to decide either way.
Hey, Harry, where are you?
Ron came around the corner, spotted his mother, and froze. Ginny appeared shortly, followed by Hermione and Seamus.
He turned to run.
Don't you dare! Screamed Mrs. Weasley. She had been angry before, but seeing her son inspired something completely different in her. Get down here right now!
Seeing the look on Miss Weasley's face stopped McGonagall. She decided to step aside and to not interfere, unless, of course, Miss Weasley decided she wanted to kill him or something.
Hermione followed Ron down to the courtyard unwillingly. Neither of them said anything, and for once Hermione didn't try defending either of them.
Out of all the stupid things your brothers have done nothing, and I mean nothing, is as bad as this. What on earth could you have possibly been thinking? Of course, nobody blames you, Hermione. Out of all the times Fred and George have almost gotten themselves expelled, and you go on top of all of that. I've never been more ashamed of anyone in my whole life. Did it ever occur to either of you that this is not the thing we need to be dealing with right now? First Dumbledore dies, and
Mrs. Weasley took the opportunity to crumble into a loud, obnoxious wails. Through her crying, Harry could hear a lot about the Dark Lord, Dumbledore, Percy, Ron, a baby, and Mr. Weasley. Harry wasn't entirely sure why she was crying about Mr. Weasley, who had been the new Minister of Magic since Scrimgeour's death at Voldemort's hand earlier in the summer.
By this time, a number of students had started to crowd around the doorway. They were all pressing their ears up to the glass, although they probably could have heard her anyway.
Harry stood awkwardly in the courtyard. He looked around and spotted Romilda Vane, who winked at him and smiled evilly.
Harry turned away sharply and spotted Ginny, who was red in the face, pressing many violent moves. She saw Harry and stopped suddenly, embarrassed, and looked away, though she still looked severely amused.
Professor McGonagall led Ron, Hermione, and Mrs. Weasley, who she had firmly gripped by the arm, into the school building. Mrs. Weasley was having small fits of anger, sadness, remorse as they walked through the noisy and closely watching hall packed with students.
Harry walked down the steps and didn't go inside. He wanted a little time on his own, away from the noise and the talk of the Great Hall. He walked towards Hagrid's hut, and he had no intentions of going there.
It was a moment before he noticed that someone was trailing after him, doing his or her best not to make any noise. He whipped around, expecting a blonde-haired, pointy-faced person named Draco, but was pleasantly surprised to see a red-haired Jenny. She stopped when he turned and smiled faintly.
"Sorry," said she. "I didn't mean to pry."
She stumbled the last few steps towards him in the cold. Her small nose was red and her cheeks were icy, but she looked beautiful in spite of it.
"No," said Harry. "It's fine. I was just about to take a walk. Too much noise, you know."
"Ah," she said, suppressing what was undoubtedly another smile. "Yeah."
"What are you smirking about?" asked Harry, scathingly, glaring slightly, however unintentionally.
She glared back.
"Well," said she, "I was feeling guilty about telling Fred and George until I found out what happened between those two rabbits in my room."
Harry scowled.
"So, what? Do you think that they deserve to be yelled at in front of the entire school?" Harry snapped.
"No," said Jenny, now sincerely regretting taking a walk with him, "but I do think they deserve to get pregnant, or at least yelled at by Mom. Serves them right."
Harry rolled his eyes. "Whatever."
Harry and Jenny tramped through the wet grass in angry silence. He didn't look in her direction, and she stared straight directly to the closely falling darkness.
"I don't think they deserved it," said Harry.
"Oh, please," said Jenny. "I don't know what their problem is. I've been with Dean for ages, and we don't," she trailed off flustered. "Well, I'd never do anything like that."
"Fun for Dean," said Harry bitterly.
"You know what I mean," she shouted at him. "Anyone with half a brain knows when to back off."
"Well," said Harry, who was torn between agreeing and standing up for his friends, "maybe you don't know what it's like to be really attached to someone. Ron and Hermione love each other, no matter what people say. Maybe you've never really been in love."
She stopped in her tracks, glaring at him. Her wand twitched. Her wand hand twitched somewhere close to her back pocket.
"Is that so?"
"Oh, come on, Jenny," Harry said a little louder than he meant to. "You know what Hermione and Ron have been like. I mean, ever since they've met, they've been constantly bickering with each other for stupid reason. And then Crumb comes along, and Ron was furious." She was still glaring at him, but she followed as he continued to walk, burying his chin in his scarf, his hands in his pocket. She stuffed her hands into her own angrily. They walked in silence again for a few more moments. "Oi!"
Harry and Jenny both stopped turning. Dean was standing at the base of the hill, blocking the light streaming from several of the castle windows. It had grown dark very quickly, and they both squinted, trying to make out Dean's face through the light.
"Jenny," he called, giving Harry a dirty look. "You're missing dinner. Where have you been?" She glanced at Harry.
"I was just taking a walk." "Oh, wait, no, that's your line. I'm sorry." Habit. It's a habit.
I know. It's because some of these, it's just like these little bits in between paragraphs, so it's like, "I was just taking a walk," she said, her voice teeming with annoyance. "I'm coming." Harry watched her walk up the hill and continued towards the light of Hagrid's windows. He wasn't quite sure where he was going, but he walked anyway, even more annoyed that Jenny was gone than he was when she had been arguing with him. After walking alone for several minutes, he stopped, looking up towards the glittering lights of the Great Hall, and ran towards the building.
Dun dun dun, and we're gonna call it
dun,
there.
Dun dun.
Gonna save my bookmark there. Ooh, Lord, this was a trip.
Told you.
But it's not as bad. It's not bad. You haven't. I should send you a link to a Let's Read that me and a friend are doing.
I mean, I told you, I read bad fan fiction all the time. It's like, I can get over, but there's like two different kinds of bad fan fiction. There's like just badly written fan fiction, and then there's just like bad fan fiction.
there are some fan fiction that end up having a Wikipedia of their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I know,
because they're so bad that people reenact them on YouTube.
Yes.
Like a certain one that has its own Wikipedia page.
Yes. There's a Warriors fanfic that somebody's animating, and it's called Starkit's Prophecy, and it's hilarious. It is hysterical, and it's just as bad as My Immortal. And it's been making its rounds on Tumblr, surprisingly. Which, since I know you're on Tumblr...
I am. Constantly.
You've probably seen it at some point.
I don't know, because all the people that I follow are all, like, in the supernatural fandom. So, unless it, like, pops up through one of them, which, don't get me wrong, because, like, Dark Crystal stuff shows up on my feed. There's, like, random stuff I'm just like, okay. But yeah, no, it's not, it's, again, like I said, it's not supposed to be, like, this is supposed to be kind of stupid and silly.
Yes. And congratulations on not being overkill with the stupidity.
Yeah.
Because
just a smidge. That's all you need.
See, you're an author who will read their own fan fiction, and you know what's wrong with it. There's another person whose fanfic I'm still reading, and her and I we became friends. Our whole deal was, I sent a review and I'm like, hey, your story is shit. Fix it. She's sending me back a text. Fuck you. I have a writing degree. And then we've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes, call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love. Still gonna die for what I love. Still gonna try, I won't give up. Still gonna fight until I